Hello, welcome. If you are standing around a demo, please grab a seat and finish up your demo. If you're a sponsor, there's going to be a welcome message. Please come on over here to the stage right side. Abraham, I'm not sure who's going to be doing introductions for you all. I know you're going to be talking. I don't know if anyone's going to do an introduction on sponsorship. But we've got a lot of people here to do some intros. I'll let everyone settle down, get a drink, get some food. Or just sit. That's fine too. Okay, so for those of you who I haven't met before, hi, my name is Matt Wren. I'm the organizer of this event. Hopefully you're in the right spot. If not, enjoy the food and drinks. We are officially 3 years old at this point. This is the third year. We've completed 3 years at this point. We're going into our fourth year as of the beginning of this month. So, I know, right? Kind of cool. So, this is VRAR Chicago. The show of hands, who's never been here before? Wow, okay, as usual, it's about half the crowd, which is great. We love that. We like new people. Welcome. The point of this event for all of you, basically, we're going to have some people up here giving demonstrations. I'll go over the layout in a minute. But the point of this event is all of you who are coming here to whatever you're trying to do in virtual reality, augmented reality, take that next step forward, whatever it is. If you have to meet somebody, if you just want to try VR for the first time or AR, we've got demonstrations. We've got people for you to meet, experts in the area. The industry focus for tonight is training, which is a very big growing area for immersive technology. And so, with that said, we couldn't do this without our sponsors. There are people besides myself who actually keep this event running and help us keep this event running. So, most of them are listed right there. Some of them are not going to be here in person tonight to do intros. But I'm going to start with the VR Association and Matt. This microphone seems to be cutting in and out, so grab another one.
Okay, all right. I am here representing the VRAR Association. Can you guys hear me? Yes. All right, why you should join. There are 50 chapters plus around the world, over 4,200 companies and members. There's a Slack channel for the VRAR company data. There's job opportunities. We're experiencing increased year-over-year attendance at the events. Members have access to industry webinars on a variety of topics, constantly updated with live events. You can be involved in on the discussions. There are equipment rentals and loans, discounts on training and conferences, partnerships with conferences, and there are special member events and training. So we have multiple ways to join the discussion, from the student or individual up to the corporate level where all members of your company can be involved. So come talk to me, I'll be over at that table. Upcoming events for the Chicago chapter. We have, next month, we're doing the partnering with AEC Next. June 3rd through the 5th. We have some webinars, some podcasts, and we are currently in the works on a few social events. So come see me at that table if you haven't signed up. If you have signed up and you didn't get an email from me, it means I couldn't read it. Please come back and see me again. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So normally you would see here, there's a lot of logos up here. You've got UL, we've got Bundle AR, VRAR Association, just heard from 1871. These are the sponsors. The fun thing about this is a couple of them are actually going to be represented on the panel tonight, so they're not going to talk at you twice, which is great. The format of this event, for those of you who haven't been here, is we're going to have our sponsors say a few words. That's pretty much the one we have at this point. After that, our panel members, they all have a very brief presentation so you can understand kind of what they do, what their background is, what their area of expertise is. The reason for that is so that you can ask them whatever questions you want afterwards and you know who to direct them to, or you can get ideas for questions from that as well. The other thing I do want to point out, we are live streaming. Actually, we're live streaming times 2 at this point. We're going to Twitch and we're going to Facebook Live. So the reason I tell you this is, if you're going to ask a question or talk to somebody on the panel, please wait for the microphones, because if you don't speak into the microphones, the streams can't hear you. Last month's event had something like 3,000 views. It was actually pretty impressive. So with that said, I'm going to start with the panelist presentation, And I see Dorothea from UL is just sitting there waiting and ready to go, so you're first. Come on up.
All right.
So, hello everyone and welcome. It's my pleasure to be here tonight. What you were just watching is a video that we shared with our employees at UL to get them more engaged with this augmented reality app that we created. So to give you just a little brief background on UL and what we do, we are a testing, inspection, and certification company. You might have seen the logo on some of your electronic devices. So we've been around for more than 125 years, but this app was actually created for our 125th anniversary as a celebration for all of our employees. So it accompanied a global campaign talking about our history, testing the cutting-edge technologies of every era, which began in 1894 at the World's Fair, actually in Chicago. And there we started electric testing to ensure safety and make sure the people who attended the World's Fair didn't get caught on fire as they were enjoying the new innovation of the time, which was electricity. So we're still in the business of testing the latest technologies and making sure that they're safe from a human perspective, and that of course includes all of the awesome stuff you're going to be exploring here tonight: virtual reality, augmented reality. These are exciting technologies that people are embracing in so many different ways, and we have to make sure, of course, that the users are safe. So to tell you a little bit about the app that we created, I work in corporate marketing, so I'm not a developer, but I am a person who enjoys innovation and is responsible for storytelling and engagement and making sure that whoever my audience is having the best experience, being inspired, being informed, being influenced. So when the task came to me to create an employee gift that would at the same time please our employees, get them excited about our anniversary, also educate our employees about our company history, and do all of that in a fun, exciting, and engaging way that showed, although we have a long history of many legacy businesses, we're also a company that's very invested in current technology and future technologies. So with that task at hand, thinking of the gift was sort of an easy win for me, which was, let's do something that's sustainable. I don't want to give somebody a paperweight or something that has no purpose and utility. So we knew we wanted to give a water bottle or something to make sure our employees were also able to make a sustainable difference. So it started there, but then it was, how can we tell our story in a new way? I think the mic, there we go.
Grab a different one.
Grab a different one.
Yeah, just flip the switch up.
Okay. We all know what these, okay, there we go. Got it. Hello. All right, there we go. Mic number 2. We'll see how many I get through. We just moved down the chairs. So I wanted to find something exciting and a great new way to tell this story. We have many timelines. We've published many historical timelines. You can imagine over 125 years. So we've got lots of linear timelines available, lots of details for anybody. But this gift, I also wanted to be inclusive. So to me, the medium is the message, right? We have employees all around the globe. They speak different languages. And to have something that's interactive, that's visual, that people can immediately understand, that was really important to me. So we decided that we would try to put an augmented reality, essentially skin, on the water bottle. And then from there, it was how do we then tell our story? How do we capture those 125 years of history? So we chose certain themes, which is sort of like the various technologies that we test, and we created these interactive islands that sort of group the themes together. You could explore them just by interacting and moving around, which is sort of a fun experience because many of our employees also had never had any experience using augmented reality. So even just sharing that experience with your colleagues at work and sort of figuring out how the app works and bumping into each other and all of that was a cultural experience that we wanted for our employees to have. So these are some of the reasons why, a marketing person might look to a technology like augmented reality or virtual reality as a different way to tell a story, as an engaging way to tell a story, right? And an inclusive way, because although we do have text in our app, you can get a great deal of information just from the interaction itself. We did end up translating the historical content into 12 different languages so that all of our employees could use it. And then because we put all this effort into making this water bottle, we also added a ground plane detection element to the app so that if you weren't a UL employee and you were not given a water bottle, you would still be able to use the app by downloading it and then using the ground plane detection. So we wanted to also be inclusive of our customers and allow them to share in our history. And we did some fun things with the timeline, like we started, of course, at the World's Fair, but then we also pushed it out, to where do we imagine we would be 125 years from now? What might we be testing? So we have one of the islands is, testing artificial intelligence and how we're now like downloading things into our brains. And so is that safe and the human factors around that. So we had a lot of fun designing this app, and I can see just so many more uses for this type of technology really in marketing and communications. So I always think it's great to be considering that as you're developing, as you're working creatively, like what are all of the multifaceted arenas that this technology can really take communications to the next level. So, and that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, let me try to go back to our slides here. Okay, so I'm going to completely forgot to introduce all of our sponsors as well as the people who are going to be presenting tonight or demoing here tonight. So, all of our sponsors, 1871. How many of you have been to 1871 before? Or how many of you haven't been to 1871 before? Is that the speaker time repeating? Wow. I didn't know it had audio. That's just me. Okay. That's really distracting. Okay, so, sorry, show of hands again. Who hasn't been to 1871 before? All right, 1871, this is the space we're sitting in right now. This place is huge, actually. And when you're walking in, obviously, I don't know if you can see all the way around. It's a co-working space, shared offices. 400 some companies here, Brad?
143,000 square feet.
143,000 square feet. How many companies? 400?
500.
500? So there's a lot of companies that are based out of here. This is basically Chicago's Tech Hub. We're very happy that they have sponsored us and allowed us to use this space for this is now our second year here, every month. And this event is here every month, so for those of you who haven't been here before, come on back. So that's 1871. UL, thank UL who just presented. They have provided us with the food and drinks tonight. We always love to be able to provide you with food and drinks, and we can't do it unless one of them does, which is great. Bundle AR, you'll hear from in a minute. Is Zach in the room?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hear from you next. FinTank helps us market things, VRAR Association you heard from. And I do want to thank GTI. Where are you guys at? They're hiding back there. Okay, cool. They have just joined the VRAR Association, so welcome. Thank you for joining. And they decided that they wanted to show off this demo, and when they showed me the video of what it was, I'm like, oh yeah, you need to show that. Because it's a really cool training demonstration, full-scale virtual reality, and you're actually training on like fire safety and stuff, things that would be very dangerous to train on in real life. So that said, Zach, you ready?
Sure.
Okay, the other presenting companies here, which I'll get to in a slide, there's Bundle AR, Induvo, Nimbus, and UL will be on stage tonight. This is Zach from Bundle AR. Here we go.
Hello, how are you all doing? My name is Zach Martin. I am a co-founder and project director at Bundle AR. AR made easy. So what I do as a product director, as most startups you know, thank you. I wear a lot of hats, so that includes helping create augmented reality training, learning, development programs for our customers. So to move right in, our mission is pretty simple. We want to create an easy and self-serve augmented reality platform. Now, the two big things we want to do with this is make it affordable and repeatable. So much of AR to this date has been stuck in what I call one-off hell, where you can only create it for one event, or where you need, and it's been expensive, where you need a designated developer to create the AR experiences. So what we have tried to do is create an affordable and repeatable enterprise solution. How we've done that is by creating a software as a service platform for business institutions. Now, what this comprises of is a simple and self-serve AR content management system, the first of its kind. So basically, Lewis back there is a genius person who's developed this content management system, and basically there's some one-off solutions where you can upload, like say, a video or a 3D model and look at that. What he has created is this wonderful platform where you can do basically anything you want, self-serve. It also has our API, which comes with beautiful analytics, every interaction is trackable, and a mobile app platform. Now, what separates us a little bit from the rest is that we will also create a branded app if you want to pay for it. So that's a nice little something that we offer as well, aside from our own app. In a lot of ways, Bundle AR is WordPress for AR. Now, what does all of this mean? It's kind of a lot of words I throw at you. Let's start with augmented reality. Augmented reality is kind of this nebulous term that people don't really get in the marketplace. They think of Snapchat or Pokemon Go. My biggest hardest challenge as a non-tech person in AR is to explain it to the marketplace. So what we've kind of come up with this term is curated on-demand digital information. So instead of thinking of Snapchat with the face, bunny ears, and all that, it's just curated and accurate information. So what this means is for one of our clients, one of the top spinal surgeons in the world, and his biggest enemy is Google, because every time he sits down with patients, he goes through the procedures, post-op, pre-op, all that sort of thing, and then they go home and forget everything in Google, and then scare the living hell out of themselves. So he's getting phone calls from his patients, from their families, just asking, am I going to die? What's going to happen? And really, all it is he gives out these pamphlets with all of the AR enhancements you need to learn about the surgery you're about to get. Post-op information, a video explainer, whatever it might be, is right there, right in front of you. So you don't have to go online and scare themselves, and he's wasting his time and money on these patients that are freaking out. Another great example we have is one of our investors actually works at a warehouse where they work with chemicals, and their procedure right now is if you get a chemical spill from that device compared to that device, you have to go run to the office that's at the other end of the warehouse and figure out which device got, which chemical spilled on you, to go through the proper procedure. What he wants to do is keep it very simple, point your phone at it, and all of a sudden the proper protocol is right there instantly for you. So you're not only saving money and time, you're potentially be saving lives as well. So it's very simple, this changing from this idea of augmented reality to on-demand information that can help train and save lives potentially. The beautiful thing about augmented reality is that everybody already has a hardware. Who has a smartphone? Everybody in the room, okay? So this is something that's the two largest tech companies have already invested countless time and money developing, and it's already there. So everybody already has the device for it. And the beauty is, everybody's already using it for everything. This stat kind of jumped out at me, the 15 to 24-year-olds check their phone 150 times a day. So a big problem we see in the workplace is people trying to have employees stop using their phones. We say the opposite. They're already going to use it. Let's be efficient with them. Let's use it. Let's produce with these phones that they're already using. So the marketplace already has the tool, and people are already using the tool. The big problem we have seen at the corporate level specifically, as I mentioned, was kind of the one of hell, but really is the impact and awareness. So what can AR do? People don't really know it outside of the Snapchats of the world, and they don't really know it as on-demand information. Also, corporate IT departments do IT. They don't do augmented reality. There isn't augmented reality divisions, right? It's just IT. They handle what they handle. And 3, people don't understand what AR can do as far as saving them time and money or being more efficient in the system. They see it as kind of these gimmicky games that you know. So the education process is my biggest challenge. So what we pulled together from this and from everything we've learned is the bundler platform. And it's a pretty simple concept that's really hard to do. We basically wanted to create this content management system that was self-serve and easy to use and repeatable and affordable. So basically anyone after 30-minute training session can create their own AR experiences and training programs, very simply. It's pretty incredible what our tech team has built. I'm super proud of them. And we're excited to get this in the market coming up soon here. As I mentioned before, the analytical data, I'll get to that a little bit too. Every interaction is tracked so you can learn all your employee habits that they need to learn on and focus on. Here's just kind of a preview image. Here's a couple preview images of what the CMS looks like. It's an interface that most designers have already used, like a Sketchfab interface, a 3D model interface. So the interface is not something that you need to relearn, right? It's people that are already using it out there. Content creators are already using it. So it's not something that it's new to learn. And all it is drop, drag, and deploy. And I kind of walk you through that. It's very simple. Log in, you pop in, you create your bundle, you upload your assets right there, you move them around where you want them, that's it, and then you hit deploy. It is that easy, I promise you. And literally within, Matt created for his daughter Chocolate, yes. She was selling chocolate for softball, so they put a video on her chocolate box, and he did it in under 3 minutes. And that's universal. So once you hit deploy, it is scalable across the globe. So this is a very simple, easy solution that scales instantly. Oh, and here's, oops, did I do it? How did I put, did I just press the next video? Or? I don't know. Okay, we'll find out. I just want to show you just how it's kind of a seamless interface that you've already used before. So Lewis created this very simply using free 3D models, an image of a drive-through postcard, and then that's a video in real time. So you're a real video there. So that was his little creation. You can kind of see the interface we're using. Very simple, already in the market, and everyone's using it already. So analytical data, like I said, is critical. Every single interaction is tracked. So you can know your employee habits and needs. You can reduce the inefficiencies, calculate ROIs, and gather that engagement data. What we're trying to do is as I'm using the PowerPoint, get rid of death by PowerPoint to create more engaging interactions with your employees. Like I mentioned this case study before with Dr. Wan, one of the top spinal surgeons in the world. He, like this handout, we're calling it lightweight leave behind. We're doing pilots for multiple companies with this as well, for executive training at different events where you might have a 3-day event and the executive wants to, or the organizer wants to hand out a pamphlet to executives. Each page will teach them about a different part of that seminar. So it's a simple, hey, press this button to download that speech, press this button to download that PowerPoint, whatever you might want it to be. It's just a point-click way to know everything you just learned over those 3 days is digitally connected to you instantly. This is a similar concept. This is an onboarding packet from SLU Madrid. We had an introduction from the dean, so it's personalized instruction from the dean. You got to listen to some students. You can also point and click away from scheduling your visit. So everything is instant and on demand, connecting that digital eye between the real world and the digital world. And for kind of to get back towards the on-site applications, this is if you know the DeSalvo Institution, DeSalvo Museum on the south side.
Yes, Alton Glass.
Yes.
Dude,
We enhanced their
get out.
Mayor Harold Washington exhibit. So if you've been there, it's a small space, and it's just kind of pictures and things like that, so they don't really get into it. But we're able to provide them with a way to enhance their different things within the museum exhibit. So once you walk in, is it on working? It's not working.
Welcome to the Southern Museum of African American History. I am Harold Washington, the 41st mayor of the city of Chicago. I invite you to interact with my exhibit through new augmented reality features sponsored by Google. Explore this exhibit with your mobile device to learn about my work.
So you'll see it also tracks the phone, the eyes follow you, something Garrett did. This little shout out to Garrett. And so on the way out, so you have the intro, and on the way out you take a photo booth picture. Anyway, moving right along. Same thing at Arizona State. So just on-site training program is basically what I'm getting with this. So thank you for your time, and excited to get your questions.
Okay, so I think Memphis is going next. So we'll have Lauren come up here, all the way from France. And I need to find, there's your presentation. PowerPoint always goes slow. There we go.
Takes a lot. Well, good evening, everybody. Yeah, I'm the exotic guy. I'm coming from France, all the way from France, but we have an office in Chicago too. So Memphis, we worked on workers. So, and we focus on that, on the problem that there's a shortage in this kind of job that are usually suffering for bad image too. And the worst case is in the industry, is in the construction, is in the food industry also. Well, there's a lot of places now where there's a lot of issue for the employer to find an employee and to train them. So it's a matter of image, promoting the image of that job, detecting the talent, attracting them, and then training them to become the expert you need. So that's something that is real everywhere. It's the same case in the US, in China, in Europe, in everywhere. You have the same, we have all the same problem. And so I created the company in 2011 because of that, thinking that my background is VR, I'm a PhD researcher in VR initially, and I discovered that this kind of technology can be very efficient for manual skills for workers. And I focused on that since then, and we created a set of solutions that are devoted to manual skills training. So it can be welder, it can be painter, it can be electrician, it can be anything related to your manual skills. And even the idea is to detect your basic skills like concentration, precision, all that things related to manual skills. And thanks to this information, we can drive you to the kind of job that will fit to your skills, to your gift, so you will be talented. And I'm talking of young people, the kind of kids that are attracted by doing things and not thinking all the time and spending time like you are today seated and listening to someone. They want to do something, they want to move. And we can detect very early this kind of talented people and move them to this kind of passion they have. And through this passion, they will learn mathematics, physics, whatever you want, but they will be focused on doing things. And that's really what we decided to do. So to do that, we need to identify what they're doing, and that's the core, that's the middle of that circle that is called Vulcan. Vulcan is a tracking system that will analyze whatever VR, AR activity you will do. It's open platform that connects to any kind of contents, in immersive contents, virtual contents. So you can then connect this to a tracking system that will analyze your skill and give you the proper curriculum to move you to the expertise of the worker. So this is a little bit how it looks like. Well, it's quite clear, but the idea is to give you a real-time analysis of your manual skills, whatever VR, AR activity you will do. Analyzing your performance, and then on the other way, the instructor will use Vulkan as his assistant, his VR assistant for education. So the instructor will create exercise with different tolerances, different difficulties. You will align this exercise in sequence to create a curriculum and assign that curriculum to each and every student. And progressively, Vulkan will learn what the teacher is doing, will help him to find the proper answer to each individual. It's a matter of inclusion also, because we can include people that may have some disorders, disabilities, in a more global training, because it's individualized. The VR assistant makes the teaching individual, but the instructor, he will follow a group of students and he will have the expertise of the job. So you see that's really something that is mandatory. We're talking a lot of VR, AR tonight, but if you don't have, especially for the corporate sector, if you don't have the proper evaluation and the way to adapt that VR, AR experience to each individual, that's just an experience. That's not something that will help you to raise your skill. So this is where we are today. We have something like 1,000 users that are mostly training organization. It can be corporate training, it can be public training organization. Across the world, something like 100,000 students, let's say individuals, has been trained through our device. We are actively working with Microsoft and HP because we have most of the activities on the cloud, of course, and we integrating the artificial intelligence to the analysis of the skills to really be able to detect those talents and help the kids in a way that even the platform that we are creating are providing different type of traits depending on the needs of the industry locally or nationwide, things like that. So we can even provide discovery activity to kids depending on the needs that will be forecasted in 2 or 3 years. So you see the impact of this kind of device. So it's really to attract, recruit, and at the end train. Just to give you an example of this kind of things that works everywhere in the world, it's the same. The culture is different in the world, but the problem is the same everywhere. We need to train people. Either you are in an emerging country, you have a lot of people, unemployed, unskilled people that you need to raise, or you are in a more, let's say, advanced country like ours, and we need to find a way to bridge the gap between the education we have today and the need for the industry of tomorrow. So that's what I told you about the figure. So that's mainly what I wanted to say today. Thank you so much.
Okay, and last but not least, Induvo.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Quinn, and I learned that if you're ever going to tell somebody something, you have to leave them with something. And how do they remember who you are? When we listen to the lady talk from UL, it's about the brand, it's about what you're talking about, how you remember things. So first of all, Induvo comes from a Latin word, and as we see all this great technology, we go, how do they get all that stuff in there? But really the objective is, how do you get that data, that content, that impact out there? So Induvo means put it in, and Enduvo means get it out there. So a big part of our company mission is, how do we get the data out there? Secondly, while my name is Tim Quinn, it's kind of a misnomer. I've lived in Chicago my whole life. My full name is Patrick Timothy Quinn. I was born on St. Patrick's Day. They have a parade for me on my birthday here, if you guys don't know. And my favorite bar is Finley Dunn's Tavern at 3458 North Lincoln. So we'll see you there on St. Patrick's Day. So, Nuvo, the Irish guy. And it's really amazing that we're here tonight to talk about training. Training is knowledge. And all of us have sat through lectures before. I'm sorry, but you're sitting through a lecture tonight, and you have to listen to me. But there's so much knowledge and so much training that goes on, but a lot of it just goes on deaf ears because you have to sit there, and you have 1,000,001 things to think about, and you have to focus on them. So when we talk about VR and AR, we really focus on immersive technology. How do you get that person to be excited? How do you get them to not be checking their phone? How do you get them, especially the young learners of today, to focus longer than a minute? TikTok, my kids love TikTok, and I'm going, man, I wish they could teach you something in TikTok. But that's how it is. But that's how people are learning. And so with the huge amount of money that's being spent on training out here, a lot of people, a lot of companies go, our training just isn't the impact that it should be. And part of those reasons is because the subject matter experts that know it better than anyone else, that have the passion to really teach that lesson, that have years and years of experience, number one, they're retiring. They're going away. Number two, if they are that experienced person, they're really busy because they are the smartest person about what they're dealing with in that room. And the other part about it is, if I sit up here and I was taught by the expert, and I'm the trainer, it's very quick that you'll find out that I am not the subject matter expert. I'm just relating it to you. And so as we talk about in Dupo, as we go through, it's more than just a product. It is our industry that we're talking about here, and people want data real time, when I can get it. If your car breaks down, and you go home, and you need to either tell your wife what happened, or she needs to tell you what happened, she goes to YouTube and looks up a couple things, and bang, there's a video. If I need to make a cake, bang, I can go to YouTube. So there's this platform that already exists for transporting the data, but that data is created in 2 dimensions. If we could create that type of data in 3 dimensions, it's mobile, so you can send it anywhere you want. It's on demand, it's personal. I'm telling you guys what I know. You don't have to believe me, but you can listen to it and decide for yourself. And then the last part of that, which is really the business impact of this, experiential learning has huge impact. People touch things. If you hear something, you learn this much. If you watch something, you learn that much. If you experience it, sorry about that. If you experience it and can touch it and interact with it, depending on if you're a slow learner or a fast learner, you will remember more. And so test scores, the value of that training goes off the charts, and that's what companies want. I don't just want to train you to bang something along your head. I want you to learn it. And if you can't learn it, I want the data to be there whenever you do need it. So these are some of the things. There are real business drivers to every presentation that was brought today. Reducing cost of creating the training, reducing time to take the training, the ability to be able to see it whenever you don't. And most important to me is that subject matter expert view. The person that is the smartest at it is giving you that training. What are some of the challenges? I looked at, these are some great products that we've seen tonight, and I still ask myself, how do you do that? I am not a Unity developer. I am not someone that sits here and can code things. I'm a sales guy. I want to bring a message to somebody and say, this is what it is. Am I bringing you value? Tell me yes or no, and let me help you to fix a problem. So it needs to be really simple. Access to 3D assets. Any one of you that has been in engineering has dealt with CAD drawings and all kinds of schematics and all those things. Businesses are being forced now to create 3D models. It has to be in 3D. People want to see it. They want to touch it. So that's coming. Integration into the existing training catalog. If I pay for something to teach you as an employee, number one, I want it to be impactful. Number two, I want to set us apart from anybody. And number three, I need to make sure that you're taking the training, what you need, when you need it. So LMS is a big part of that as well. And a lot of these things cost a lot of money. So what is Induvo? Induvo is a company, much like these others, that created a platform. But the one thing that I want to say about our platform is that it is about you. You are the subject matter expert. And in 2 quick steps, you can create your own immersive content. And again, I said immersive content because it could be shown on the headset, which is the most impactful. Sorry, I have a problem. Number 2 is it can be shown on a computer, on a tablet, on the phone, as we talked about. So real-time data that goes there. What we've created is a 2-step process to take subject matter and create immersive content out of it and distribute it anywhere. So we're really talking about virtual reality, but there's augmented reality components of it that have come through, and it's any type of device that goes through there. So what have we done? How do you do something? Have any of you guys taught a class before? Anything? PowerPoint? This is what I'm going to teach you. This is how we're going to do it. This is what I did teach you, and here's the test at the end. Well, there's lots of people that know the instructional design methodology, but you get forced away from it because you have to do all that stuff and prepare. In experiential learning, if I put the 3D asset in front of you, immediately I can say, this is a jet engine. This is the heart. This is safety procedures, and these are the things there. And so those would be assets. You can create these lessons in minutes. You save them to a platform so that other peers of yours can use those things that you did, and then you transfer them to wherever you want so people can learn. Why is this impactful? 75% savings in creating the content, and you're allowed to let the subject matter expert create the content, whether that's in manufacturing, cooking, teaching of any type it's going to. And so one of our big customers is the military. And why do they look at it? Because first of all, they have their data. They don't want to send it to some company and have them do it. They're going, I am a master sergeant, and I know this better than anyone else. I'm going to create this training. It'll take me minutes, and I'm going to give it to you. And you better learn this stuff, because if you don't, your life can depend on it. Someone else's can depend on it. 2, the content delivery time. We find that the average 1-hour lesson in linear learning can be boiled down to 12 to 15 minutes. Now, if you're really smart, you take that 45 minutes back and you go to the next thing. If you're like me, I want to touch it, I want to feel it, I want to look at it and spend that whole hour. And guess what? First of all, I've spent more time studying than I probably would have. Number 2, my test scores go off the charts. And number 3, I know when I can move on to the next thing. No, I can always go back because it's recorded, it's curated there. So these are some ways that you can use Induvo. It is content agnostic. Anything that you guys think of, you can create an immersive learning objective out of it, and it takes minutes to do it. It's 2 screens to do it. Some of the market leaders in the space are looking at it. I'd like you to look at a few things here. Dell, who sells all this hardware, is using us to sell their hardware. They're teaching their guys how to do it, those things. The NIH, the last thing that I kind of want to leave with you guys tonight is, unfortunately, the challenges that are going on with our country right now, and our world right now, with this virus that's going around, is playing right into the hands of virtual reality. I can bring you the lesson and you don't have to travel. I can show it to you and you don't get the germ. But by the way, it is me. I'm talking to you. So more than just training and learning, we can also do collaboration back and forth. If you guys want to see more about this on how we do it, we'd love to set up a demo. Here's the different media aspects to go after. But again, very simple for the end user to create content.
Okay, and now for the fun part, which is where you guys get to ask all the questions. It says it's got a full battery. So, all the panelists get to come back up here, and we'll show you who they all are. No, it doesn't really matter if you're in order. I should have 4 chairs up here, right? So we got 4 chairs. I'll take the garbage microphone. That way you guys hopefully have good ones. And have to flip the switch up. And I've got one microphone over there. You need a microphone. Okay, so we're going to share microphones. How's this one working? Oh, that's better. Okay, so we've got our first question right here, which I love that it's like, I don't even have to ask, someone's going to go right away. So thank you very much. The one thing I will ask again, make sure when you're speaking into a microphone. Is that working?
Two.
Okay, cool. And yeah, go for it.
This was very great for someone who's not involved in this industry at all. I'm in theater, so I find this very interesting. There was a show recently that's beginning to do a little AR, VR that's on Broadway right now, so we're looking to see more immersive activity with that. But I'm actually here because my daughter is in environmental engineering. And my daughter is like, she's a future founder kid, and she's 13 in environmental engineering. So one of the things so she sent me here because she's in dance class tonight. And so one of the questions, because I had the watch on her, that you guys broadcast this live. So one of the questions she texted me for Dorothy. Her name actually is Dorothy. Her name is Dorothy Jean. My daughter's name is Dorothy. So Dorothy, UL has a lot that you all are, she texted me the question, that you all are doing in environmental sustainability. You have a strong strategic sustainability plan. How do you plan to implement this across the sectors within what UL has going on? And the other question was from the guy from Bundler, being able to have equity in it where there are more people that may not necessarily look like you that are being able to have access to the inexpensive way that you're presenting it, because she found it interesting that you found a way to make it more economical to access AR and VR, and how AR and VR and drone technology works together. That's actually my question, because she wants a drone. That was it. Did you get my question?
We did, and thanks to you and to your daughter, and good choice in a name. So, of course, when we consider sustainability, we have many goals, and we have lots of important objectives to try to achieve. One of the most important objectives to me of sustainability is diversity and inclusion. And I think you could see from the panelists, all of their presentations, that this type of technology is really, has the capability to be so differentiated, and to really go beyond borders in that sense, right? So when we consider economic factors, all of these things play a part in sustainability. We want to make sure that every student in the world has access to the greatest learning that they can have, right? That's not possible when we're talking about bricks and mortar schools and we're talking about, getting professionals out there. But as Tim said in his, when you can get a subject matter expert and then you can deploy that education all across the globe, and all somebody needs is a smartphone to be able to access that, then we're really going to be making a lot of progress in terms of leveling the playing field and getting everybody at a sustainable starting point for education. So that's one way. Another way, of course, is we want to be reducing greenhouse gases. We want to be making, so anytime we can reduce air travel, anytime this type of technology really has the power to educate people, to train people, to bring people together on a global scale, because we are going to be interacting globally, and yet we don't want to have every meeting and every training session involve air travel and more carbon emissions. So I see all forms of technology from a sustainability lens, because that's what I work in at UL. But so for me, there's a lot of capabilities here, and my mind takes me places. And how can we then get the analytics to track the progress that we're making? This type of technology also has wonderful capabilities for data, sharing that data, sharing best practices, and that's how we level up right? We level up by being able to share the best. So that would be my answer.
To Dorothy's point, I think what a platform what we're trying to do is really get rid of those barriers to this technology. And a lot of that is that cost or the expertise of needing like a Unity developer. And the ability to flatten those issues, to make them not a hurdle, where we can create one training or one, let's take just a textbook, where you can make that page interactive and universal across the United States just by that one page, right? So it's taking away the cost upfront, initial cost, but also the ability, like, you don't need to produce a new textbook, it's the same textbook, we're just enhancing it. So it's really trying to, all we're really trying to, like I said, is just flatten those issues, those hurdles that have come into play for augmented reality in particular, where it's expensive and it's hard to do. And by getting rid of those hurdles, we think it's going to just become a almost universal type of, we always like to say, why do I need a website in 1994? We kind of feel the same about AR. It's right there about to become our new way to communicate across, all sorts of socioeconomic platforms or levels.
I see a hand, sort of. There it is. Cool.
Hi, would anyone on the panel know if there's any open source software available for AR/VR?
Most of it, actually, I think. I guess the question of open source software in terms of creating it or in terms of using it. I mean, ARCore and ARKit are on your device already, so you can access stuff. Can you be a little bit more specific?
In terms of like open source projects that you can download right away, contribute to, things like that.
I really want to toss this to Lewis back there, because I see him nodding his head. Microphone.
Okay, so almost all of the categories of technology on GitHub are categorized under the awesome list. So Google awesome list AR or awesome list of VR. You'll find a list of hundreds of open source projects. Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like content creation, I'm sure you've heard people mention Unity already. Unity is free. It's free for you to download, unless you're using it as an industrial tool. OpenCV, like I mean, a lot of the tools that you would use are open source. They're easy to get started with, and you have to have technical chops to do those. But it's all there. It's free. There's tutorials online. So I don't know if anyone else wants to jump on that one. No. Okay. Next question. Who's got one? Okay, we got a bunch. I'm gonna go right here. Tom, with the beard.
Jack. So this one's for Lauren and Tim. So what's the interactivity like between your two companies, Nimbus and Duo, and the training content creators? So you mentioned the expert can be in the room with you, but sometimes experts aren't the best teachers or storytellers. And how do you make sure that it's not the training is actually useful, not from the content within, but the way it's actually delivered?
That's for you guys.
The question is about the quality of the content, you mean?
Yeah, I guess more or less.
Yeah, usually, especially for manual works, you need to rely on experts. So the tough part of that is to find an expert that is open-minded enough to, and also a pedagogist able to divide the skills into basic skills, and we need to collaborate with him to see what really can be done through immersive world, not all the work. So you cannot become a welder just because you're doing VR welding, but you need to understand what kind of strategic issue in welding can be addressed through VR, AR, whatever you want. Like if you think about that, for welding, the trick is concentration and precision, motion skills. That can be trained anywhere in VR, in any kind of situation. You demonstrated, or the science demonstrated that if you are are trained in some concentration in any kind of situation, your concentration will be adapted to other cases. You are concentrated. So, and so you can create a dedicated kind of VR experience to address some part of the manual skills. And more, we're doing most of the skills, like if you think about electrician, we can really train an electrician all the way in VR because there's a lot of, well, the technology evolved and also that kind of job is less a matter of precision of the motion and rather a matter of understanding the process, understanding your world around. So depending on the, well, the key is really the expert that will drive your work. We are just the hand, they are the head, and we need to find a perfect fit with those kind of open-minded experts. I don't know if did I answer to your question or?
And I'll just add on that very quickly, is that as the dichotomy of the cost of the technology goes down and the ease of use goes up, I'd come back to you and go, can you tell me what would be the most exciting way to do it? And if I allow you to do it yourself, or a group of your team to do it yourselves, to do it, there's no telling how good your output could be, correct? And so the subject matter expert might not be the right energy level to deliver all of that. But if he's telling me certain things, for sure I'm going to listen. And that's where the magic of 3D comes in. Where are you at? What is the image that you're looking at? That's the other thing. I mean, we deal with a lot of doctors, and they're going, I could never show this to anyone ever before, and now I'm dealing with a heart that's this big. And look right here. Doesn't matter who's giving the message. He's talking about exactly what he wants to say. And that's just a small example of how this can really impact the teaching and the learning process that goes forward.
To Tim's point, we were just talking about this today, that the most exciting thing to us about AR is we have no idea what people are going to use these tools to do. So the possibilities in AR, I would say, the great thing about AR and the worst thing about AR is it can be anything. And that truly is the reality of these type of platforms where you remove those barriers. Now it can be whatever you think of. And that's a really exciting thing that, for us, is just like, I can't wait to see when it goes public, what these people are going to do.
I'm going to remind you, Tim. Keep the microphone. Sorry. I'm actually watching it. We actually have people watching live, so I do want them to be able to hear it. I was going to say, the French guy's got it down. He holds it right here. I saw the red shirt in the center come up. They're racing to you.
Hi, my question is for Tim. You had mentioned some stats around content creation cost savings and increase in content delivery time. Do you also have some metrics around efficiency of that training using the Induvo platform over traditional forms of instruction?
Exactly. So each one of our customers is looking for that exact type of data. Some of it is industry. There's a lot of industry data that's out there. But again, I'm looking for what my data, just like your question is. And so part of what we do with a lot of the projects that we're on, and it's a way to make it a bigger project, is go, put 50 people through this, and let's test them. And we find those things. Most of them like the immersive environment better. They like the fact that they can do it on their own time, and their test scores go way off the charts. And the last thing I would say is in the knowledge transfer in the academic world, a lot of people are talking about the reverse classroom. So I want you to look at this module first, you watch all these things, then you come into the lecture, and now I don't have to tell you about all that stuff, you're up to speed on it, so when we talk about something, it's answering questions about that knowledge versus having me to teach you what that knowledge is again. So there's a lot of that, but again, there's lots of studies being done in a lot of our accounts, and that knowledge will be very public as more and more experience comes around.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's two factors in particular when it comes to learning in immersive environments that they're doing studies on pretty heavily right now. One of the first ones, and there's a term for it which I can't remember, so maybe you guys can help me, but it's basically the speed at which you actually kind of recognize things, the speed at which you grasp, what is it?
Comprehension.
That's It's comprehension? Okay, so yeah, basically it's comprehension of the material. So the speed at which you actually pull it up is deep. So the time that it takes to absorb information is decreased. So you absorb the information faster. The other one that's actually the more important one that I like is that retention actually goes up. So you remember it better after you're out of the environment as well. Those are like the really basic academic level studies that are being done. And I know on the industrial level, different subject matters, it's more like, okay, well, what about if you're learning something abstract like math versus learning a mechanical procedure where you're actually physically doing it in VR? So there's a lot of studies across the industry being done a lot around that right now. The kind of general statistic that I remember hearing at Global Summit last year was I think 40% decrease. So you basically the average amount of time you can expect that you'll cut off of training time is about 40%, and that was just sort of a cross category. I'd love to be able to point you to the study that actually published that, but I don't have it at the top of my head right now. And I'd like to find more. And I know you can Google and see a lot of these studies. They're pretty easy to find. We've got a question right here. Yeah.
Thanks. I got two things. First, and it goes along with what we're talking about for tracking. So LMS, LRS, LXP, XAPI. These are all either the way LMS, learning management systems, are going right now. XAPI is the way that it's tracked. And so any and all of what's going on here has to, as far as corporate training is, has to output in that way. So I'm wondering if you do, number one, I know I looked into a couple things before coming here, I know you do. And secondly, just comment, 20 years ago, to do the type of training that we put together for online corporate use today through Articulate and other things like that, you used to have Flash programmers to do that, and it cost a lot of money to do that. And that's where I think, like the VR is right now. And so the more that you standardize this where an average sort of multimedia person can do it and now a coder can do it, I think that is sweet, the real sweet spot right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of throw this one at Aduba a little bit. You guys showed me your platform in a trade show booth in 3 minutes. I think I figured out how to use it. 4 or 5 minutes, I was creating stuff. Like, it's fast, it's intuitive, it's pretty easy. I saw some questions in the back. I'm going to go back here.
This is going off of the last question. For organizations that might want to use your platforms, if they don't want to create it themselves in-house, do you guys have, or create it in their organization themselves, do you guys have, creative in-house that they can pay to do it so that you're doing it for them? Yeah, no?
Yeah, so we work because there's like a platform, so yes, if you need us to help build the experiences, we can do that for you. As far as the content, we have a lot of, especially through this connection, a lot of good vendors to actually create the content, and then we can build you the experience if you want to as well.
It's basically, do you guys have content creation on your side?
So part of it is that what we're all doing up here is trying to make it so easy that question doesn't come up, but it does come up. And the other thing, whether you're in training or teaching or whatever, no one's taking your day job away at this point in time to build content. So with our solution, as you said, it's very easy to build, but a lot of times people are going, we want you to build it. And we have numbers of different avenues. Some projects we do in-house, but most of them we talk to third party. Sorry.
Yeah, just on my side, just to give you an answer on what we're doing, there's the quality of the experience in VR in terms of pedagogy. It can sometimes be tricky, so people can do their content and connect to our platform for education, but they often come to us because the sensor that are put in the VR to analyze your skills is very can be sometimes tricky depending on the experience. So we provide this kind of expertise for them.
Just I was going to say before, real quick. I know that there's a question back there. Is it still there? Okay. So before we get to the questions too much, I do show of hands. How many of you are from the actual training industry? Like you've done corporate? Okay, cool. Just so everyone here has some reference. How many of you are like VR, AR content developers, creators? Okay, I'm curious what the rest of you are. Afraid to raise your hands, I guess. Okay, we have a question in the back.
A question from Twitch.
Oh, we have apparently an online question.
An online question, yes. So, Chris tuned in asking, is AR or VR better for training?
I'm gonna let everyone get about 30 seconds on this one, because start there, just go this way.
Well, it depends on what you are to do. I would say that VR is nice when you don't have the world ready around. Like if I want you to put you to work in a nuclear plant or on a big space and you get out of something very expensive, I want you to cut a jewel, a diamond, and things like that. Then VR would be probably easier to use. AR is a different approach. You need to have a real world around you. You need to have some part of the real world at least. So it really depends on the application, I would say. But there's no good pro and cons. It's, both works.
And tonight as we go on, I hope that you feel that it's not just VR or AR. It's immersive technology. How are you immersing in it? And so it's not one isn't better than the other. It's what's the right one for that experiential learning that has the greatest impact to the end user. And it'll find its own spot for that answer to that question.
I agree with that. I stick to my former point, which is the medium is the message. So you need to figure out what it is that you're trying to communicate. What are you trying to teach? What's the best way to get that to your learner? And then you start worrying about what modality, what technology you want to apply to that. But the first step always is what exactly are you trying to convey? And then, of course, your person on the other end, how are they going to best receive that information? And then, yes, I agree. The distinction between VR, AR, all of these things, there's going to be more technologies. There's going to be new acronyms, right? Because the immersive experience is what's really key here. The ability to engage more of a person's senses so that the brain has more retention, so that the education is an experience. And you really empower a person when you enable them to take education in multiple senses. So.
As an AR platform, just kidding. Our CEO says something that I like, in that he uses it for AR, but it works for XR as well. It's like medicine, right? Depending what your illness is, that's what the medicine you need. So that's kind of the way I look at it. It's like they said, it's just use case.
I don't need to repeat what everyone else said. Pretty much, yeah, the whole panel agrees. No, it is very, the one thing that I know a lot of people throw off is we talk about, like I mentioned before, about retention in virtual reality, the fact that when you're surrounded in the environment, when you're interacting with something, you retain it better, you comprehend it faster. A lot of people think that actually doesn't translate to, holding your smartphone up and seeing a 3D thing on your smartphone, but it actually does. Your brain gets tricked the same way, even knowing, you can sit there and know that, this is not something that's physically in front of me. I'm looking at it through a screen. It's not there. Your brain still gets tricked. You still retain the data better. And the studies are showing that. Even though you can sit there and tell yourself, this is augmented reality. It's the same people in virtual reality in a basement at a demo that I did who are running away from the VR dinosaur. It's like, it's not there, but you still react. Your body still gets tricked. And ultimately, it's kind of that psychosomatic thing that's what makes the retention better. That's what makes the comprehension better. So, I had one more way back, but I don't see him around. There he is. And then we'll come back over here. Is that microphone working? Who's that one?
So my question, I guess, is also on the content, is how are you guys looking at this at scale? Who are you talking to in the corporate departments in terms of, it's great if you can put together an experience, but first you have to get those assets from the client? or you have to build the assets from the ground up with fidelity, or you have to optimize the assets. So I'm just interested in how, if you've had to solve for that problem yet, and if you are, how you're doing it. I seem to have been pain points.
No, so yeah, our platform, specifically to us, certain assets work on our platform, certain don't. But saying that, generally speaking, 9 out of 10 clients already have the assets created. When it comes to specific things like take the Harold Washington, yeah, we had to have a studio help develop that 3D model that talked to you. But generally speaking, for training specifically for AR, they already have the videos, they already have the CAD drawings, they already have the CAD models.
I guess that's my question. Are you seeing more like videos, or are you seeing more like, because like you take a CAD drawing, the CAD drawing could be a gigabyte large with,
Sure, yeah. So one client who comes to mind for that, we had to turn it into FBX model or OBJ. And yeah, sure, you lose some things there, but those models are way too big to have a good experience in AR, right? So you give and take certain things to create the experience you want the user to have, I guess is the best way to say it.
We'll throw a real example. So there's a building that I can't, it's actually over there. There's a building over there that we worked with the architectural company, and they gave us a CAD, and actually it was an exported 3D model of the building. And we spent a good day trying to open it, because once we finally got it open in a computer that was big enough to actually handle it, we realized what they gave us was not just a model of the building, it was a scale, like actual size model of the building, and everything in it, every piece of furniture, every window, every piece of the window frame was actually modeled and scaled that way. And we're like, yeah, this is not going to be deliverable on a mobile platform. So, we had to basically have a computer big enough to open it in the first place, and then finally, okay, well, what pieces of this did you actually need to take this building and put it on effectively a card this big? Because it didn't need to actually be, 700 feet tall, which is what it was. But once we modeled it down, effectively rendered it down, it was deliverable. We had to do that for them. But in terms of like the assets, like a lot of what can be deliverable in virtual reality, augmented reality is video content, is honestly even just images, really basic 3D models. And so it's a mix of who has it and who doesn't. I know a lot of the medical stuff exists where you can find general assets to do training. A lot of machinery stuff exists already where you can get it modeled. I know, I'm gonna say that I don't see any, they might be in the room. There might be somebody from Bosch here, but they have almost all of their stuff already done in 3D. Very specifically for their manufacturing purposes. So to take what they already have for manufacturing and then to translate that so that it could be used for like VR training is not hard, and they can do it themselves. There are questions over here.
My question is related to content creation again, and specifically for those of you who worked in the medical space. Just a little bit of background, I work for Ergo by UL, it's a medical device consultancy, and actually a subset of UL. And we do a lot of work with medical human factors clients. So we do a lot of work, a lot of our clients are developing training materials for their patients, their doctors, for their products, and training is a constant consideration from sort of a human factors standpoint. Just curious, it seems like a lot of the value with VR and AR is sort of predicated on the fidelity of the assets that are created for the environment. And I know we're sort of touching on content creation on kind of case-by-case basis, but can any of you speak a little bit about your experiences consulting with medical clients and helping them create assets which maybe they might not have or are just unfamiliar with the space?
So for me, it's more that the content's already there. So we were working with another surgeon, a different surgeon, who has to go onto an online database to find the specific video and the specific PDF for this one thing that he uses once every 3 years for a surgery for knees. And he goes, that takes me an hour to 2 hours to find exactly what I need. Where in reality, all he has to do is, like I keep saying, point your phone at it, and it's instant information. So to your point, as far as creation, we can always find a house to create the things you want, if it's a video, if it's a 3D model, whatever. And like I said, most times it's already there. It's finding it and putting it into an easier way to find it, I guess is the best way to say it.
So in Induvo, again, we're letting the end user create. There's 3 parts to every project. It is a project, so there's some project management to it. There's subject matter expertise. And the last thing is those assets. A lot of people start saying, yeah, I've got all these assets, and then they come to the table and they go, And it is most impactful when it's a 3D asset. So we did start in the medical world, and those doctors didn't really see the need at times for all those things. They have them. All those MRs create them, all those echocardiograms, all those things that go there. And then when you show them what they can do with them, they start to pop up. To all you guys that are developers out there, we have 56 different suffixes of 3D files that we can bring in very simply, but it's never simple. There has to be some optimization that goes on and to make sure that it looks best. So there's part of that. So there's projects that go on just for the optimization of those. And now there's tools that are coming big time that really allow to take those 3D models and segment them. Anyone that's ever created a medical model and looking to segment it so that you can pull the parts away, it's becoming much more common nomenclature and common practice than it's been in the past, and it just keeps coming.
So I'm gonna actually, because there's a lot of questions about content creation. So Ben, wave your hand. Hi, there's Ben back there. Some other guys, anyone else in the room, if you're a content creator, raise your hand. All right, cool. So if you guys have questions about content creating, afterwards when we get back to networking, look for the people who raise their hands again, raise them up high so they can remember you. These are all content creators, so they can answer all those fun questions. All right, cool. Next question. Actually, I thought there was one over here, Steve, no? Yeah? Let's say, I recognize some of the people here, and I know he had a question, and then we'll go back over here.
This is for Dorothea. I was fascinated by that experience that you showed us. And what struck me was you had an enormous database and an enormous history where you could actually put a virtual museum up. And maybe think about this notion of, because you've done so many different lines of machinery and so many different lines of appliances and so on. What about the history of all that and testing them? How did you manage to arrive at your safety standards? I mean, this would be a fascinating museum that would be very instructive for engineering students, for unbelievable. I mean, it's like, it's a treasure trove.
I completely agree. There aren't too many companies who've been around for, at this point, 126 years. So having that type of history, we have archives, right? And we have old footage. And when we did this app, we handed the collateral that we had, which, a lot of it is historic, so it's not going to be 3D files. It's going to be photographs, it's going to be video, and then it was up to the developers to really interpret that, bring that to life. But I agree with you. I think that the creative possibilities for this are endless, and they do, the ability to create an entire laboratory experience, right, where you could go in and you could be that UL engineer and you could see the tests, as they transition throughout history. There really is no limit to what you could show, and so that the other thing that I always think about is that UL mark, right? That's on every product out there, and to be able to take your phone and just bring up that mark and it shows you immediately how that product was tested, how that product is safe. Where that product came from. So what's the supply chain? Is it sustainable? I think there's infinite possibilities with this technology. Thank you for that.
Is that right here? He's behind the column from you, Tom. There he is.
Right, this is a question for any of the panelists. It's more of a curiosity. Considering that the AR and VR is exponentially growing, and so many ideas are to come just as it came out of the internet. We don't know what is to come. From you guys' experience and being in the industry, what would you claim or see from your experience? What has been the most unexpected or most challenging project that you've had to deal with using AR and VR?
That's a wide question. From my point, it's always been, from my point of view, every new project we start today, it's always surprising. Even if, we are in the hard stuff like manual skills. So actually we started by welding. So initially it was, and now 20 years ago we started that. 20 years ago we started by welding. And at that time nobody was thinking that welder would be able to accommodate with a VR device. So like those days, the latest one we released is a sharpening knife to VR training system. So we training butcher and we training food processors to sharpen their knife in VR. So that's something, and when they come to me and say, I need a sharpening knife, I say, well, what? Well, you just throw away your knife and buy a new one. So that's something, there's a lot of application that you cannot guess today, as you said. We have technology, but the idea is coming from the users, from, they have the skill, they have the expertise, and there's so much application that comes up with the evolution of the technology too. The HoloLens 2, the new version of the augmented reality device, the new version of the VR device is changing. The next generation of headsets will be able to evaluate your sensitivity, your fear, your concentration by just sensing, your body language. So there's a lot of things that will come up that will turn all that things amazing in terms of things we can do, including the artificial intelligence too. So it's just huge. It's really surprising every time.
There's a lot of amazing things that happen, but I'll tell you guys a quick story, is that one of our founders is a doctor, and he's here in Illinois, and part of his job is he's a pediatric cardiologist, does surgery on children's hearts. And part of his job, the other half of his job, is he has research grants that he deals with. And here in Illinois, they're taking investment and taking engineers and doctors and putting them together to find technology. And the very first time that they took a heart and put it into the virtual environment, and the surgeon was there, and the strategist was there, and when they blew the heart up this big, they changed the complete process of that surgery because of what they truly could see. And that, to me, is amazing. I mean, first time. And so this technology is just technology, but the fact that it's so real is really going to change a lot. And the last thing about it is the hardware is coming down, the content is still expensive to make, but at some point in time, it's going to be YouTube. It's going to be free. And businesses struggle to stay in business when things are free, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to get to. So that's a challenge too for the business side.
Oh yeah, that sounds amazing. Or challenge.
Well, I am the client, and I'm sure that I was my developer's favorite client.
Okay.
I'll kind of focus on the challenge part because I can talk all day about the good stuff. I kind of think that there's three prongs to the challenge. One is the tech side. We're literally inventing everything right now. Everything we're doing is new. There isn't like a base for it. So there's always something that's going to come up, right? That's going to happen. That technical challenge of, oh, that's a hot fix that we got to do right now. Right? So it's kind of one of those things where technology side, it's that. The big thing for me on the client side is they have to be all in. If they're not all in, projects become challenging. I'll stick to two and not to go too negative, but those are the two big things that we're on the bleeding edge. We're literally defining things every day. So something's going to pop up on the tech side that you never saw, and then you just want to have those clients that are all in for this technology. Those are the two things for me.
I'll throw the challenge out there, and it's more from a lack of understanding, and then we'll do the question later.
Education.
No.
Educated market.
The challenge is sometimes, again, as a startup company or as a young company and somebody who understands the technology, when to tell what looks like a really, really good big cash cow company that's coming to you saying, hey, this is a great idea, we want to give you all this money to do the solution, and you look at what they're actually wanting you to do and being like, no, like that's a really bad idea, it won't succeed. And again, not because you're not smarter than them necessarily, but it's something that someone else has asked you to do before, or you've tried it before, you've seen other people try it before, you know it doesn't work. And when you have, again, a company that's got a really, really deep checkbook kind of trying to tell you you should do this, and you're like, well, you really shouldn't do that, you should do this. And I'm like, no, we really want to do this. And we're like, and that's, as a company, you don't want to put out a garbage product that you know isn't going to work. And even if it is going to be for a really big, high visibility company, now you really don't want to put out a garbage product that you know isn't going to work. So the challenge sometimes, I guess, with the technology from our standpoint is saying no when it's a bad idea. And again, there's not a lot of bad ideas. Try everything at least once, but again, when you've seen something fail several times, you know it's not going to work. And it doesn't matter how many more times you try, it's not going to work. So that's one of the bigger challenges I've seen. Unfortunately, I can't say who that client was, but it was really, really interesting. We were really excited when they called, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, sorry. There's a question here first, actually. And then we'll get to Scott.
All you guys are super passionate about AR, VR, and obviously you see the benefits in the future and how it's going to be ubiquitous throughout. What are you guys going to do to assist in educating the underrepresented youth? I know a lot of the times when technology is more nascent and then becomes more commercial in the future, they're playing catch up because they don't have access to the resources that you stated. So what are you guys doing to provide access to those people that don't necessarily have access, that can't afford those higher costs, even though they're being brought down on a daily basis?
Why do they don't have access to the technology? What do you mean by that? You're talking about the cost of that technology.
Yeah, the cost, the access.
I can give you an example of the other side of the world. We're educating disabled people in Pakistan. They are below poor people. If they don't have any basic skill, they're dying. And still they are trained to that technology. So there's a lot of incentives everywhere in the world. There's a lot of funding from the government to address, and it's a matter of inclusion. It's a matter of, because those technology often are not related to being able to read, even being able to understand the language of the country. You can still be trained through VR and AR, even if you're not reading, you don't understand the language. You can still get basic skills through that. And so I think that's a role of the public organization, of some charity programs, to work to provide this kind of technology to people that can't get access to this, basically.
I mean, it sounds like you said it's the role of the organizations, but I'm asking individually this. What are you guys doing to make sure you're doing your part to give back to those that don't have access, that need to be educated, even something like content creation or how to grow? Because some people literally will not even know about AR, VR until 5 years down the line. And I think that's flawed when you have the opportunity in today's technological age to educate.
So I'll take that one just because it's kind of part of my, that's actually a big part of my responsibility ultimately, because I'm the Chicago chapter president of the association for this technology. I can give a couple of examples of what we're doing. Number one is this. This is a free event. Anyone can come here. Where's my high school student who wants to raise his hand, who reached out? Okay, the outreach is one thing we're trying to do, but again, most of the people who are working in this particular area right now, if they're doing stuff like this, we're volunteering our time, and we work at startup companies, we work at big companies. This technology is growing, it's advancing, there's a lot of demands on our time, so we do what we can to reach out. Personally, from our perspective, from the association's perspective, we've reached out to every university in the city of Chicago. We've attempted to reach out to the Chicago Public Schools. They don't get back to us, honestly, but again, there's only so much I can do to reach out to them to say, hey, listen, we want to provide you information, we want to provide you content, we want to provide you access. But again, I can respond to people who come back to me. In terms of, I don't know, there's a company here called EX3 Labs out of 1871. Have you heard of them? They've actually installed immersive technology labs in, I want to say, 3 or 4 different schools. They have to get a sponsor every time they want to do it because, again, they're a small startup. So there's a lot of outreach that's going on. One of the biggest problems with this technology, and again, one of the whole reasons that I do this event and that we've been doing this event for 3 years, is awareness. People just aren't aware of the technology. So what can we do? Well, we can host a free event. We can put as much notice around about it as we can. We can make all the, videotape all of these sessions, or videotape. Who actually uses videotape? Sorry, we live stream all the sessions, and they're recorded and they're available forever. So that if anyone wants to watch this stuff, it's available for free. It's on our pages. Those are some of the things we're doing. And again, yeah, you're right, we need more awareness. So I'm gonna throw this one back at you a little bit and say, what are you gonna do about it? Because you've got this information, you know that these resources are there. And so if you know somebody who has a need, please connect them with us. Because we want to get this information out. We know that this is about to change effectively how we do everything. So it's really useful. I've been telling the high school student here, sorry to point you out again, Alex, but I told him on our first conversation, I'm trying to reach out not just to university students, but to high school students, because you don't understand. When I was in college, there was nobody teaching web development, and probably half the people I graduated with have done web development since then as part of their jobs. I'll tell the high school students right now, more than half of you will be dealing with immersive technology every single day of your life in your career. How do you want to start learning it now? Because it's going to be a huge skill. And the farther advanced on it you can get now, the more advanced you'll be, in terms of your market value as an employee. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go with it, basically. And then I'm sure he wants to talk about access.
We talked a little bit of access, but what you're describing is such a systemic level problem, right? And I do think once we can get to that point where we can give people access to a smartphone or tablet, which we take for granted every day, right? That's the first step. And then once you get it there, it's pretty flat, right? As far as what we can do with it, there's not really a lot of hurdles. That's the hard part, is getting that tech in the hands, right? And it comes to money. And like everything else, it comes to money, and that's where the next step is, where you kind of need someone in this industry, and like I said, we're a baby startup, but we need someone in this industry to step up and say, I want to invest in this for this sector of our community. So I think that's kind of the next step, is the dollars, just like everything.
Who's next? That's somewhere hands up. That's Scott, that's right. Oh, 2 Scotts in a row. It'll be fun.
Thanks very much, and thanks to the panelists for sharing your expertise. I have a specific question for Dorothy about your journey on the water bottle project from concept to completion. Could you just share some of your experience on things like, how did you decide on a platform? Did you decide to do it internally or use an outside vendor? Did you have to sell it internally to stakeholders like IT and management? What were some lessons learned in user experience? Those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had, the first thing is you get a budget, and then you try to figure out how can I maximize this budget, right? So we knew we had a certain amount of money to devote to an employee gift, and we could have just gone to the catalog and chosen something and put a UL logo on it and then sent it out to all of our employees. But to me, a good gift is something that's made by the giver, right? So I wanted to make sure that whatever we gave to our employees was actually something that we thought about and that we created, right? So we didn't have the developers in-house that would be able to do that type of coding. So we went to an outside vendor. So that process is kind of interesting too, because I took some of my team members around to different AR events, and then we had an RFP process. So there were three vendors who came to us with bids on the work, and I think it's good to share a little bit about what that looked like too, because everybody who submitted proposal for the job, they were all great designers and they all had great ideas. So then how do you select the partner that you're going to work with? And I think something that we keep talking about today, it's always top of the list, is the communication. So when you are meeting with your potential client, to really listen to what it is that they want to achieve, and make sure that anything they mention gets covered in your proposal, right? But then the people who win the business are the ones who then go above and beyond, and they say, hey, you guys wanted to do this, that may work, but we've got this great idea over here that that's actually going to add all these other benefits to it. For us, a lot of that too was like the data tracking and some of the stuff that we hadn't really considered, and so that sort of that made our vendors stand out, as well as they took a lot of time to really know the brand and the history of the company. So there's lots of different ways to set yourself apart, but certainly when you're approaching like a large corporation, there's certain ways to really demonstrate your professionalism, and a big part of that is really, really understanding the ask from top to bottom, and continuing to ask questions and get clarity before you submit your proposal, so that you really know you've got all your bases covered. So luckily, we then sort of had free reign. We had meetings every single week with the developers so that we could really hone in on that creative process. We had a great working relationship in terms of us handing over the assets, giving a lot of creative direction about how we could make this new and special, but then also how this would really still align with our brand and all of the artwork that we've already created around the initiative. And I think ultimately my biggest wish was that it would be something that people would enjoy and really engage with, and be something that brought our employees together. Because with 15,000 employees all around the world living in different countries, everybody facing different issues in their communities, for them to have this one shared experience that might not seem like it's a big deal, but it really was a big deal for our employees, and everybody was taking photos of themselves interacting with the app. We have this great SharePoint. SharePoint is our intranet, but we have this great photo gallery of everyone receiving their gifts and then interacting with them. And it was a great cultural bridge between a lot of our employees, just to be able to have something that they all related to, and they felt that was especially designed for them, especially with the translations that we provided. So to me, that was the big win, was people felt that they'd gotten a great gift,
So Scott, I'll get to you in a second. I saw your hand shoot up as soon as I said Chicago Public Schools, so I wanted to see if you had a comment. Hang on, I have a microphone.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Matthew. This is my second time here, and I'm going to accost you after this panel is over to get back to you. But I'm actually with City College of Chicago and dealing with this young man speaking about how do we bring this type of technology to the masses.
Yeah, Matt, raise your hand.
Okay.
United.
Come see me.
We're going to be talking. We'll be talking to you right after this. So Scott, you have a question?
Thanks. So my question is for Lauren and Tim. With your platforms, as a developer, can I bring in or connect it to Unity and Unreal projects? And if so, what kinds of data do you find your customers wanting to track? Like things like decision making, like how do you track that? Like what are the data points that you're finding being important for your clients?
That's a good question, yeah, but thanks for asking. We call that sensors. So as a developer, you have a plugin in Unity that will enable you to create sensors. Yeah, it's better. So yeah, it's basically you have to define and to put some sensor in your VR world that are sensor that will track the skills for that's our case, that's how it works with Vulkan. So the sensor will be, as you said, about concentration, precision, whatever. But depending on the trade, depending on the activity, if you put the sensor in different area, this sensor will send information to Vulkan. And on the other way, what is the key is that your application, and it's also a module with Unity and Unreal, whatever you want, your application will have to integrate the authentication of the user because we need to identify him. So that's provided by the. And ideally, if you want to make it intelligent, you need also to get the information from us about what is the perfect exercise, what is the parameters that will be requested for each individual. So that's a second layer. If you are able to achieve all that, then you create you turn your experience into a real teaching environment that is intelligent and that will adapt to each individual.
So from our perspective, we're allowing the end user to create the content. In there, in the learning objective methodology, there has to be assessment. Can you tell me what these things are? So testing as it goes through, and then at the end, did you learn more than you would have if you took it another way? So that assessment exists in there, and all that can go into the LMS. At the same time, the hardware vendors are starting to add tons of data in there. Where are your eyes at? Where's the cognizance that goes through there and those things? So it's continuing to evolve. But for certain companies like ours, and it goes back to your questions that you're asking, we're not looking to be the knowledge management system. We are looking to be the training and the instructing process and doing the analysis for there and adding it to other data that goes. And so we have that open API and all the data that goes there so it can be integrated into other aspects of the knowledge that goes through.
Okay, who's next? Any more? Okay, we got one here, we got one back there actually. We're gonna go right there, real quick, and then we'll come up here next.
Hi there. So my question's for all of you. I think about my personal experience with VR, AR so far, and a lot of what I've seen is perhaps written content where it has a QR code or something where you can scan to see further information. But what I often find is that I've gotten all the information I want from what's already written. So I'm wondering how you balance kind of giving enough information in that written content to provide what people need to know, but still entice them to seek out further content from AR or whatever it might be you're offering. So striking a balance between those two.
I guess for me, prior to this world, I was a baseball coach, and the number one thing you learn as a coach or teacher is people learn differently. So you might read it and you go, done. Where she might need to see a video, right, or something along those lines. So really, again, it's not just an opportunity for on-demand information, but people learn differently. So the ability to use different ways to teach them, or you might want to learn more about one thing in that specific paragraph you read, where you can enhance that content. Like, hey, I'm reading about this heart. I see a 2D heart. I get it, but let me see a 3D heart so I can actually see all around it. So it's really, I don't really like the word disruptive, that thing's kind of tech thing. We're trying to enhance what is already available to you and make it more better for you, basically. To learn, because like he says, that interactive makes you learn better.
As I said, just to pile on that too, agreed, you don't always need extra information, but a lot of times it's not necessarily information that is popping up in AR. It might be an action. So there's the information that's getting presented, and okay, cool, I got the information, but now I want to actually take action on information. So we augmented printed material for St. Louis University Madrid, where it talks about housing. So the housing for the students, and it's great that, okay, the information's there, you got what you need. If they want to watch additional videos, those are there too. But when you click the web link, that's where you actually go to your like the form that you're going to fill out to get your housing. So, you could, I guess, go to the website and search for it and do all that stuff, or you could literally just point your phone at it and touch it and you're there. It's not really doing anything, it's taking away a couple of the steps of having to, open up a browser, go to a website, type in the URL, search for, wait a second, is it this one or that one? Oh, again, the information's right there, it's one click and it takes you there. So there's not a lot of searching, there's not a lot of mistakes that can be made. Where's Tom? Is he around here? Is he hiding behind a pillar? Oh, no, sorry, there was a question right up here up front, so I just wanted who's closest with the microphone.
Does anyone else want to answer that?
Oh, my microphone's dying. Anyone else want to jump in on that or no? No? Okay.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for everyone on the panel. I produce.
Just keep trying.
Okay.
It works.
I produce content to teach people things, and I have various subjects. So I was curious about the platforms that you're creating versus some of the ones that I'm already using. Like I use Teachable, and I use I tried to use Kajabi, and those do not have any AR/VR capabilities. But I was just curious as a content creator, like, because I'm always interested in enhancing things. I actually use Barbie dolls occasionally to demonstrate things, which gives people a visual when they don't speak English or English is their second language. They can do that. But with those platforms, like, they're very much geared towards teaching people, like, something like in a segment where you could do a short course, be certified, or up your skills, and then move along with it. So.
Can you state the actual question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
My question is, what are some of the differences that VR adds to that? Because the assets, like, you're calling it assets, but for me that's going to be like my visuals, my written material. How do the platforms that you have enhance that? Like, I've even seen one, it's called Passion.io, which is for personal trainers, and they can plunk all of their videos in there and reach people all over. So how does it enhance it?
So you are a subject matter expert, and you keep saying AR and VR, which is great, because that's what we're in. But really the thing that I would ask you to start to think about is experience. You're experiencing things in pages, and it's two-dimensional. What if all of a sudden you can bring that image, or first of all, you're in a room that's light to where it's supposed to be, and second, that asset is sitting there. And whether it be an F-47 jet, or a heart, or a Tonka toy, when you experience them, when you touch them and feel them and look at them, the statistics are going off the charts on the impact that makes to the learner. And if you can do it easy, that's really, really key.
Anyone else want to chime in? No?
Well, I'm thinking about the visual, the augmented things, what you visualize, the visual and the sound and the added visual that you can create around the reality or the virtual reality. The same, like we making things visible and enhance the problem thanks to special visual things. And the way you raising this alert, the way you displaying this alert also, it's really something is a key for education, because some people will understand far quicker thanks to that. So it's not only the content that you will create, but it's also the added information created for education that you will create that are and it depends on your creation. Your skill in creation and in education.
I think we're going to do one more question over here, and then we're going to go back and do more demos for the people who haven't tried it. Where's GTI? Okay. I love to sing it.
Question about hardware. So the cost of things like a Vive setup and everything are pretty intensive. Things like an Oculus goggles are cheaper. Do your platforms support both like PC playback and and something like an Oculus.
Yeah, well, it's different things. Having the headset and just a PC playback, you're not doing the same thing. Yeah, you know. So usually when we are working on a platform like Unity, Unreal, whatever you name it, those platforms usually they are making us agnostic. So they are addressing most of the existing headsets from the cheapest to the more expensive. There's a bridge between Android and Windows, yes, yeah, and Apple, yeah, also. So that there's a cheap headset running Android, and so you need to produce Android version. But usually it's also something that is driven by Unity or Unreal. So, but moving, having this, we can produce the same things. The same application can be in an headset and on a computer, but the interface is different, you know. So, and that the issue in terms of learning, understanding, because sometimes it gives you less, you know, it's not like if you were doing it, you're doing it through a flat screen, so it's slightly different in terms of acquisition of the skill.
In those aspects, there's the creator and there's a learner. To create, it requires some horsepower, so you have to have a gaming computer and a tethered virtual reality headset at this point in time. However, in the last year, those prices have dropped in half, and like the Oculus Quest that's coming out is going to be a hybrid. You can tether it and use the horsepower of that machine as the creator, and you can also use it as a side load to be a learner as well. So part of this marketplace, going back to the gentleman's question about how will the masses get to use this thing, it's happening. It's happening right now. The Oculus Go is $200. They're finding out that it's not as strong as they want it to be. The Go is getting sunset, but the Quest is going in both directions. It's taking really high-powered as well as lower-powered as well, and then based on the level of immersion that you want, you go to the laptop, to the desktop, to the single-person gaming on a tablet, and then to the phone. So it'll be ubiquitous as it continues to evolve.
Okay, so let's see how long this microphone lasts. So GTI over here has a really cool demonstration we haven't yet. If you guys haven't tried it yet, definitely try that out. UL, the experience that they showed on the video is available over there for you actually to look at it and see it in real life. If you guys want to see it, Bundle AR will be back in their area doing demos, I'm assuming. Looking at him on that one. Did you have a question? Comment? Go ahead. Tom, yeah.
First, thank you to all the panelists. I think you guys did a great job presenting, and I remember even from you also, Dorothea, even more praise to you because she works for us. But one thing I wanted to share in some of the comments about equipment and things of various natures from a lot of the equipment makers. I want you to know, and this is coming from someone who works at UL for 15 years. I'm the son of a UL customer for 40 years. There is a lot to be said about this type of technology that has been unexplored from its safety aspects. And UL is working with the industry to address that. So there will be a public standard for AR, VR, MR equipment. I think it'll probably get done by 2022. It takes a long time. We started the process in October, and now we're moving into now having a standard technical panel. Pretty much every major manufacturer you can think of is on that panel. Our own Matthew Wren is on the panel, so it's a community of stakeholders, not just the manufacturers, that participate in the standard development. Anyone who's ever interested in standard writing or wants to learn that process can come see any of the UL team. We're happy to address that. And maybe on a later date at one of these events, we'll go through it in quite some detail, because it is a very involved document. It's about 50 pages right now. Once it goes through some rounds of improvement with the panelists, then it'll be ready to be shared and spoken a little bit more on. I think it's still got a lot of areas where people are not going to agree yet, and it's going to take time. So I expect it to be very interesting in the next year with the manufacturers. And this is something that UL does. Even though these manufacturers are my primary customers, I mean, we work with these guys to certify their equipment, whether it's a plug-in unit, whether it's a something that's got a battery in it, But when it comes to things that we feel are public safety matters, we try to be forthright with everybody, not just with the manufacturers. Our larger stakeholders are the consumers, our electrical inspectors, fire marshals, lots of communities of people that we want to show trust and transparency with. So I just wanted to let you know about that as a final comment, since we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but hopefully later on, maybe towards the end of the year, we can talk some more about that.
Yeah, you saved me from talking about it, so thank you. I was actually going to mention the 8400 standard, which is being written right now. And actually, the first meeting is next month, or at the end of this month.
March 31st.
March 31st. So yeah, that standard is coming. Other than that, thank you to the panel for being up here and for bringing demonstrations. Thanks to UL for getting us food and drink, because we love you for that. We have the room for probably at least another half hour, so definitely, again, this is one of the things that I've said this before, and it doesn't really, sometimes it comes across, sometimes it doesn't, but a lot of the value that will take place at this event is literally all of you people in the audience meeting each other. Because, like I said, content creators, once again, developers, raise your hands high so people can talk to you, trainers who want to know about this stuff. Look around, like the people who can work with this technology are here, and who want to work with this technology are here. And if you can share this event out to the community to get our reach out more, we'd love that. Next month, we are talking about architecture, engineering, and construction. We will have experts up here from the Chicago AEC industry. Looks like everyone's getting ready to go, so thank you very much for being here, and I hope we'll see you next month. If you want the live stream will be available. You can watch it anytime you want. And if you want to contact anybody from the panel, feel free. We'll have contact information. And please go see Matt at the VRR Association table if you're thinking about learning or working with technology. Thank you.
This is the design of it. So it does the design. Is it inherently using materials that are long-term that they relied upon? Are the electronics on it? It must know that they don't, if a single component fails during the life of the sensors, or shock or fire hazard. And in the case of the RV, low voltage blindness,